Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash, Season 7. So tomorrow, when this video is uploaded, The Flash is back. It is finally back with its 7th season, which is hitting our screens around like 10 months roughly after the conclusion of Season 6. And it feels like it's been 10 months. Quite a long wait, especially considering that we didn't properly finish the season last season, and that conclusion will be happening or taking place at the beginning of Season 7. But as per usual, we do have a big preview for the new season of The Flash thanks to TV Line with Eric Wallace, the showrunner for The Flash, to go over, and there are quite a few interesting things to go over. But as per usual with any of these types of interviews, the link to it will be in the description down below if you're curious. And just a note, I did not include the Green Lantern stuff in this interview in this video, as I already went over it in a previous video. Didn't want to repeat myself, so the link to that video will be in the description down below if you want to watch that and you're curious about that. But of course, before we get into this, let me know in the comments section down below what from this interview gets you curious, any theories sprouting from anything from this interview. Just let me know what you're looking forward to this season as well. I'm always curious about that. And, you know, I might mix my own thoughts in there as well. So let me know in the comments. And of course, if you want to enjoy the video and you're looking forward to the Season 7 of The Flash starting tomorrow, or maybe today when you're watching this video, want to drop a like on it. Let's get it going. But yeah, let's just go through these Q&As and provide thoughts when needed. You ended last season with 3 unfinished episodes. Did it in fact wind up taking all 3 to finish the Eva McCulloch arc? I don't know if it's a spoiler or not if I can say that, but with the early part of the season, we do address last year's cliffhanger. In the first few episodes, we'll be getting Iris out of the Mirrorverse, all those good things, and we will be wrapping up the Eva McCulloch storyline before launching into a brand new graphic novel. You had a long summer and then some to noodle with those leftover episodes. Outside of the whole Ralph thing, cast member Hartley Sawyer was fired in June, did you end up making any changes? Yes, the first and the third episodes of the season changed. The first changed about 20%, let's say. Our premiere was not intended to be a premiere, so we had to give it an entirely new opening that had more flashy action because people want to see the Flash, played by Grant Gustin, and Eva McCulloch in her mirror costume. We had to re-engineer the entire first third of the premiere, which was a really fun challenge, but I think it made the episode much stronger. And just a note here, people that have seen the episode already said it's like one of the better premieres of recent times. In order to then wrap up Eva's story, there was an episode early in the season that literally we had to change almost half of it. That was also due to COVID too. Usually to wrap up a storyline, we have hundreds of extras and all these things going on in downtown Vancouver. We blow up cars, we have a sense of scale and spectacle to end the big bad, and we couldn't do that because of COVID, but we still had to have spectacle. So how do you do that? And we had to deal with the loss of a cast member in The Elongated Man, who was very wrapped up in that story because we have to exonerate Sue. It was an incredible puzzle to finish Eva's story, but you make lemonade out of lemons, and the episode is stronger as a result. We found clever ways to bring in scale by relying a bit more on visual effects, and we had to rely more on character emotions and the actors themselves, and how things were introduced and how twists were presented. When we wrap up Eva's story, and there are some real surprises for the audience that would not have existed in the same manner if there hadn't been this COVID interruption. So this is very interesting. So we knew that there was going to be some changes in episode 1, just due to the fact that Hartley Sawyer, who played Ralph, who's no longer on the show, filmed scenes for episode, or what would have been episode 1 now, or episode 20 of last season. So they had to take him out of the episode and inject some other stuff, and that seems like it's around 20%, as well as making a bit of a more actiony Flash open, as Eric Wallace says here. But by the sounds of it, episode 2 is going to be what it was meant to be, and they are changing episode 3, which is the quote-unquote finale, and it's probably just so it leads into episode 4 in a more organic way, because there's not going to be this 6-month break or whatever it is between shows normally, between the episodes. It's 1 week. So they're probably going to restructure it just so it feels like a weekly cliffhanger rather than a seasonally cliffhanger, if that makes sense. What was it like looking at that first episode back where Iris is somewhere else, Cisco is off the map, Caitlin is off the map, Ralph is off the map? Talk about the challenges and opportunities that presented themselves. It was an opportunity because Barry is also losing all of his speed at this point. Team Flash is at their lowest point, which means they can't fight. So whatever happens will push them to extreme measures, and that is the plot of the season premiere. What extreme measures do they adopt, and what are the consequences of that? Barry, without all of his usual Team Flash helpers, needs his speed back in order to fight Eva, so you'll see that happen, but maybe not in the way you thought. So this is something that I'm very curious about, and we mentioned this, I think it was in the most recent trailer breakdown, is that Barry's sort of on his lonesome. He's still got Chester there, so I think Chester might play a big role in the first episode, maybe the first two, before everyone else comes back into the fold. Of course, he's got Nash, but Nash isn't like a scientist or like a, you know, in that realm. So I think Chester might be a big help in regards to this. So keep your eyes out on Chester. Still trapped and at risk of going mad inside the Mirrorverse, will Iris need to shift into a new gear in order to help save herself? Well, that'd be a spoiler. Let's just say you can't get out of the Mirrorverse and not be unaffected when you return to real life. And what does that mean for Barry and Iris as a couple? Without spoilers, it is very fair to say that once Iris gets out of the Mirrorverse, yes, she will rejoin Team Flash as an active member and help bring down the McCullochs once and for all. So we've been talking about this. We've seen how being in the real world affects Eva after being in the Mirrorverse for, you know, a certain period of time. Now, she was in there for much longer than Iris. However, we've seen Iris like merge into it. Like the cliffhanger was her sort of feeling the effects of it in a major way and sort of being able to transport. So she should technically feel issues when she comes out. So it will be very interesting to see what that means. I think most people are hoping, and this, whether you like or don't like Iris, you know, this isn't any sort of like hate thing. I don't think anyone wants to see Iris get powers. The beauty of Iris as a character is that she doesn't have powers. So I don't want her to get powers. Let's see how they do it. I sort of hope that Iris gets out of the Mirrorverse herself. I think that'd be a good thing for her character, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. If Barry can't gain access to it, then maybe she has to get herself out. So let's see what happens there. Without spoiling it at all, the premiere features one of the funniest sequences in the show's history. Was that always in that episode, or did it get added in? That sequence, which I also think is one of the funniest things we've done in a long time, was always there. There would have been a little bit more of it, though. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go as deeply into it. So I'm very curious to see what it is. Once again, people that seen the episode earlier were talking about there was a really funny scene in this episode. So I'm very curious to see what that is. But they do follow on by saying, regardless, it's this great little burst of lightness amid an incredibly intense arc. And Eric Wallace says, and that was on purpose. We were like, it's getting really intense here. We need to have some laughs. This season premiere, not only with that sequence, but one later on that is related to it, involves some of Grant Gustin's best acting ever. It's Grant at his finest. Give me a little something about when Cisco, who went to Atlantis, and Caitlin / Frost, who went with their mum to recuperate from an injury, eventually return. Caitlin, because of COVID, came back sooner than expected. That was a real blessing. If you didn't know, Danielle Pennebaker was pregnant, and that's why she had to leave early, but because of COVID, it helped returning her early. You won't have to wait long at all for Caitlin and Frost to return, and we actually added scenes to bring Frost in at least 2 to 3 episodes sooner than originally planned. Same thing with Cisco. Let's just say that he comes back wiser and with the skills and talents to help them defeat Eva. So that's very interesting. I am very curious to see what they're planning to do with Cisco. Without spoiling exactly what it was, there were set photos where Cisco looked different. And I do wonder if this has to do with his adventures to Atlantis. Does he get some Atlantean tech or just some advice in regards to what to do? I'm curious to see what they do with Cisco, especially because we have Chester this season. There's been this big complaint that Cisco and Chester are very similar characters. So how do they differentiate the two and make them both stand, you know, on their own without seeming too similar? Well, let's change Cisco up a bit and give him some stuff. So without spoiling it, I'm very curious to see what they do with him. I'm sure some of you guys have seen the set photos and know what I'm referring to. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do there with Cisco. After Eva, we're heading into graphic novel number 3. In addition to number 4, might there also be a 5th this season? There will be graphic novels number 3 and 4, 2 just like last year. After Eva, look for 2 new big bads in their own graphic novels. Might there be any overlap between Chillblaine and the graphic novel number 4 villain? It's funny, we have finished our first couple of Chillblaine episodes, and I'm happy to report that they're so great and so much fun that we may be adding more Chillblaine than we even anticipated. We may leak over into the 4th graphic novel, which was not one of the plans. It was just supposed to be a part of graphic novel number 3, but I'm happy to report that John Core is doing an amazing job, and I think the fans are going to fall in love with him. A villain I hope they love to hate. So this is very interesting. I'm not sure whether he's confirming that Chillblaine is meant to be the graphic novel number 3 villain, or he's a part of the story with whatever that villain might be. We know that Godspeed's meant to be one of these antagonists, but is he the number 4 one, or is he number 3? So is Chillblaine working with Godspeed, or is Godspeed later on in the season and Chillblaine is the number 3 villain? I'm sort of confused there. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure we'll get a hint of it once we get into like episode 4 and 5, obviously, as to what they're doing here. But Chillblaine to me doesn't seem like, oh, someone that, you know, would have up, you know, take up a good part of the season and be the focus, especially just considering his power set. But maybe there's more to him, and there's just a bit more to him that we don't know and that we'll discover once we start watching this season. But that caught me a bit off guard, because when Chillblaine was cast, they said recurring, but I just thought he'd be like a, you know, a villain that just shows up every now and then for a few episodes, maybe assisting another villain. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. And finally, the final question and answer is, I saw your quotes over the hiatus about Joe West's upcoming storyline inspired by recent societal changes. How tricky is it bringing a real-life topic like that into a show like The Flash? It's tricky. You have to walk a fine line between being honest with the audience about social justice issues while also remembering that it is a family-oriented entertainment, so you can't get too heavy. It has been tricky, but I think we found a good balance, and it helped us find what I think for Joe is his most interesting character journey yet. It's going to take him to some very unexpected places, and Jesse or Martin has risen to the challenge and is knocking it out of the park. So we've known this for a while. This is pretty much one of the first big teasers we had heading into season 7 in regards to any sort of story elements, and that's that they were going to use like some of the real life news and issues and stuff and fold it into the Flash, especially with Joe, because, you know, he's captain of the CCPD, so it makes sense that they would tie it in with him. I'm curious to see how they do it. We were told it was almost like an abuse of power, which I guess is a relevant thing to put into the CCPD or the police force. But we weren't too sure if it was like something to do with like maybe, you know, like, what do you call it? Like metahumans, like people abusing metahuman powers, or just the cops themselves. So it'll be interesting. We've had some set photos which might relate to this storyline, but we don't know. It looks like those set photos might relate to Chillblaine. But this is like something that we've known for a while, and I'm sure people are curious about heading into it. But yeah, guys, that's the interview with Eric Wallace. The Flash is back tomorrow. Look forward to it. I can't wait to talk about the premiere with you guys and see what this funny scene is that they're referring to. I'm sure we're all looking forward to finally getting the flashback on our screens. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions and stuff like that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.